All right, diving right in. Today, we're tackling something super practical, and let's be honest, something that can make or break your postgraduate entrance exams.
Yep, English vocab, it's the foundation, right?
Totally. So today, we're zeroing in on Day 16, Unit 4, Sections 36 through 42 from your study materials.
Good stuff. Lots to unpack there.
For sure. But the goal is to move beyond just recognizing these words. We want you to be able to use them confidently, maybe even impress those examiners with how naturally they roll off your tongue.
Exactly. And this particular section is cool because it's got these little groups of words. Like you've got a bunch that start with over, and then there is a whole set around fear and risk.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even consciously notice that before. It's almost like they're telling little stories, these word groups.
Right. So we'll break them down, look at what they mean, where they come from, and of course, give you some real-world examples of how they work.
Perfect. So let's start with, I guess, the over family. First up, we have overlook. This one can be a bit tricky because it has two main meanings.
Yeah, two sides to the same coin, kind of.
On one hand, you can overlook something, meaning you miss it, you fail to notice it, like don't overlook the importance of getting enough sleep during exam prep.
Haha, good advice. Definitely don't want to overlook that. But then the other meaning is about literally looking over something, having a view from above.
Like my balcony overlooks the entire city.
Precisely. And it's funny how that same word can mean to see something from a high vantage point and also to not see something at all. It really just depends on the context.
So true. Context is everything with these words. Okay, next up we have overwhelm, which honestly, I think we can all relate to when it comes to exams.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of just being swamped, right?
Exactly. It can mean to be completely defeated, like the defending army was overwhelmed by the sheer number of enemy troops, but more often it's used to describe that intense emotional feeling of being flooded.
Totally. Like, when I first started studying, I was overwhelmed by the amount of material. It's like this huge wave crashing over you.
Right. And then, of course, there's the adjective form, overwhelming, like that exam question we saw. Overwhelming majorities of both groups said. It's emphasizing that it wasn't just a majority, it was a massive, almost undeniable agreement.
It's a great catch. The little details matter. Okay, moving on, we have overtime. I think this one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, working beyond your usual hours, often for extra pay.
Right. Your material has that example. They pay $150 a day plus overtime.
Clear and concise.
Yeah.
But even with a word like overtime, there can be these subtle shades of meaning. Remember that, quote, overtime is not attractive to this generation.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. It speaks to a change in values, maybe. Like work-life balance is becoming more important than just grinding away for extra hours.
Absolutely. Now,
Okay.
overcome. This is a word we want to be very familiar with, especially in the context of exam prep.
For sure. It's about conquering something, succeeding in the face of difficulty.
Right. You might say, he finally overcame his fear of public speaking.
Or, the team overcame all odds and won the championship. It implies this sense of struggle and then ultimately triumph.
I like that, struggle and triumph. Okay, next we have overflow. It's kind of a visual word, isn't it?
Totally. Think of a sink filled with too much water. It overflows, right? It can be a verb, like the river overflowed its banks after the heavy rain.
Or a noun referring to the excess, like the overflow from the burst pipe flooded the basement.
And it can be used figuratively, too. Like, imagine you're at a concert and the crowd is so huge that it spills out onto the street. You could say, the concert hall was overflowing with excited fans.
Love that example.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, a bit of a heavier word, overthrow. This one's all about removing someone or something from power, usually by force.
Yep, big changes happening, like the rebels successfully overthrew the corrupt government.
Or the recent political upheaval led to the overthrow of the monarchy. It implies a pretty dramatic shift in power dynamics.
For sure. And it can also be used in a more figurative sense, like the new scientific discovery threatened to overthrow the long-held beliefs of the time.
Great point. Okay, let's move on to overall. This one's about the big picture, taking a step back to consider everything as a whole.
Right. It's often used as an adjective, like the overall impression of the play was positive.
Or, despite some minor setbacks, the overall progress of the project was impressive.
And don't forget, it can also be an adverb, meaning generally or in general, like overall, I think we did a good job.
Perfect. Last in the over group, we have overnight. This one can be a bit sneaky, as it has two distinct meanings.
Yeah, time versus suddenness.
Exactly. It could literally mean during the night, like we decided to stay overnight at a hotel.
But it can also mean something happens very quickly or unexpectedly, like she became a celebrity overnight after her video went viral.
Or the company's stock prices plummeted overnight.
And for all you students out there, remember that success on these exams doesn't happen overnight. It takes consistent effort and dedication.
Words of wisdom. All right, let's move on to our next group, which is all about the swords.
Sounds fun. Let's swing into it.
All right, first up is, fittingly, swing. It can be a verb meaning to move back and forth like a pendulum. Or, the children were swinging on the swings in the park.
And of course, it can also be a noun referring to that back and forth movement or to the actual swing set itself.
Right, like the batter took a powerful swing at the ball.
Or, he sat on the porch, swing, gently swaying back and forth.
And speaking of swaying, that's our next word. It usually implies a gentler movement than swing.
Yeah, more of a gentle rocking or leaning, like the trees swayed in the breeze.
Or the dancer swayed rhythmically to the music. But sway can also mean to influence someone's opinion or actions.
Oh, that's a good one. Like, don't let yourself be swayed by peer pressure.
Or the politician's powerful speech swayed many voters to his side.
Clever how one word can have such different meanings. Okay, next up we have spread, another word with a few different uses.
Yeah, it can mean to extend or stretch something out, like she spread the map out on the table.
Or the bird spread its wings and soared into the sky.
It can also mean to distribute something over a larger area, like the wildfire spread rapidly through the dry forest.
Or he spread the seeds evenly across the garden bed.
And it can also mean to become known by more and more people, like the news of her promotion spread quickly throughout the office.
Or the use of social media has helped to spread awareness about important social issues.
So many different ways to use this word. Okay, next up is widespread.
So this one basically means happening or existing over a large area or among many people.
Right. It's often used to describe something that's common or prevalent, like there is widespread concern about the effects of climate change.
Or the new technology has gained widespread adoption in a very short amount of time.
And we often see it in phrases like widespread poverty or widespread corruption.
Yeah, it really emphasizes that something is happening on a large scale. Okay, our next word is swell.
This one's fun. It can mean to increase in size or volume, like her ankle swelled up after she sprained it.
Or the crowd swelled as more people arrived for the concert. It can also refer to a large wave or a rounded shape.
Right, like the boat bobbed up and down on the gentle swell of the ocean.
Or he had a nasty swell on his forehead where he'd bumped into the door.
Okay, next is sweep, another versatile word. It can mean to clean something with a broom or brush.
Or to move quickly and forcefully across an area.
Right, like he swept the crumbs off the table into his hand.
Or a strong gust of wind swept through the valley.
It can also be used figuratively to describe a sudden and dramatic change or movement.
Oh, good point. Like a wave of excitement swept through the crowd as the band took the stage.
Or a new political movement swept the country, bringing about significant change.
And don't forget about the noun form, which often refers to the act of cleaning or a wide, curving movement.
Right, like the janitor gave the floor a quick sweep, or the eagle soared in a graceful sweep across the sky.
Nicely done. And finally, in our SW group, we have swear. This one has two pretty distinct meanings.
Yeah, it can mean to make a solemn promise, like, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Or they swore an oath of allegiance to the new king.
And of course, it can also mean to use offensive language, usually out of anger or frustration.
Like the driver swore loudly when he realized he had a flat tire.
Or she swore under her breath when she dropped her phone and it cracked.
Definitely a word to be careful with, depending on the company you're in.
Very true. All right, on to our next set of words. This time we're looking at ones that start with SC. First up, scream.
Oh, this one evokes a strong feeling. It means to cry out loudly, usually in fear, pain, or excitement.
Right, like the children screamed with delight when they saw the presents under the Christmas tree.
Or he screamed in agony when he broke his leg.
And it can also be a noun, referring to that loud cry itself, like her piercing scream echoed through the empty house.
Spooky. Okay, moving on to scold. This one implies reprimanding someone, usually in an angry or critical tone.
Right, like the teacher scolded the students for talking during the lesson.
Or, my mom always used to scold me for not cleaning my room.
And we sometimes see it used figuratively, too, to describe something that seems to be reprimanding someone.
Like, The dark, stormy clouds seemed to scold the city below.
Or the harsh, critical review scolded the author for his poor writing.
Okay, next we have scorn. This one's all about contempt, feeling or showing a strong dislike or disapproval.
Right. You might say, she looked at him with scorn when he lied about his accomplishments.
Or his actions were met with scorn from his colleagues.
And it can also be a verb, meaning to treat someone or something with contempt.
Like, he scorned their offer of help, believing he could do it all himself.
Or, many scientists scorn the idea of a flat Earth.
Right, it's about rejecting something or someone as being worthless or inferior.
Okay, last one in our SC group is scare. This one means to frighten someone or to cause a feeling of fear.
Like, the loud thunder scared the dog so badly that it hid under the bed.
Or, the horror movie scared me so much that I couldn't sleep.
And don't forget the noun form, which refers to a sudden feeling of fear.
Right, like she got a real scare when she saw a shadow move in the dark.
Classic. All right, moving on to our SPE words now.
Oh yeah, this group's got some interesting ones. First up, we have sprout. It basically means to begin to grow or to appear suddenly.
Like, the seeds began to sprout after a few days in the warm soil.
Or, new buildings are sprouting up all over the city.
And it can also be used figuratively, like, an idea sprouted in her mind.
Or, his confidence began to sprout as he gained more experience.
I like that. Okay, next we have spite, a noun meaning a desire to harm or annoy someone.
Like, she spread rumors about him out of pure spite.
Or he refused to apologize, even though he knew he was wrong, just out of spite.
And we often see it used in the phrase in spite of, which means despite something.
Right, like, in spite of the challenges she faced, she never gave up on her dream.
Okay, next is spray, which can be both a noun and a verb.
As a noun, it refers to liquid that's been dispersed in fine droplets, like, the ocean spray felt refreshing on her face.
Or, he used a spray bottle to water the plants.
And as a verb, it means to disperse liquid in that way, like, she sprayed the air freshener around the room.
Or, the artist sprayed paint onto the canvas, creating a unique pattern.
Cool. Okay, moving on to pray. This one usually has religious connotations, but it can also be used more generally to express a strong desire or hope.
Right. In its religious sense, it means to speak to God or a deity, often to ask for something or to express gratitude.
Like, they knelt down and prayed for guidance.
Or, she prayed for her sick grandmother to get better.
But it can also be used in a more general sense, like, I pray that everything will work out okay.
Or, we can only pray for peace.
It conveys a sense of helplessness, but also of hope.
Okay, our next FP word is prey, which can be both a noun and a verb.
As a noun, it refers to an animal that's hunted and killed by another for food.
Like, the lion stalked its prey through the tall grass.
But it can also refer to a person who's vulnerable and likely to be exploited or harmed.
Right, like, elderly people are often prey for scammers.
And the verb prey on means to hunt or exploit someone, like the con artist preyed on vulnerable tourists.
Or, fear preys on the mind, making it difficult to think clearly.
Okay, last but not least, in our STEPU group, we have array.
This one can be a bit tricky because it can be both a noun and a verb.
Yeah. As a noun, it means a large number or wide variety of something, like the store had an impressive array of goods for sale.
Or, the artist used an array of bright colors in her painting.
And as a verb, it means to arrange something in a particular way, often in a visually appealing manner.
Like, she arrayed the flowers in a beautiful vase.
Or, the soldiers were arrayed in neat rows on the parade ground.
Well done. Okay, we've got a couple more groups to cover. Next up is a small group of words related to fierce.
All right, bring on the intensity.
First up, we have fierce itself, an adjective meaning aggressive, powerful, or intense.
Like, the two warriors engaged in a fierce battle.
Or, the storm raged with fierce intensity.
It can also describe something that's very strong or determined, like she had a fierce loyalty to her friends.
Or, he was a fierce competitor on the tennis court.
Right. It implies a certain level of passion and energy.
And the other word in this group is fearful, which means feeling or showing fear or causing fear.
Like, the child was fearful of the dark.
Or, the ominous thunderclouds made her fearful of a storm.
It can also describe something that's likely to cause fear, like the steep, rocky cliff was a fearful sight.
Okay, time for our last group of words. This one focuses on words related to day, meaning cowardice and threat.
Interesting combination. Let's see what we have here.
First up is coward, which is a noun referring to a person who lacks courage and is easily frightened.
Like, The coward ran away and left his friends to face the danger alone.
It's a pretty strong word, and often used to express disapproval or contempt.
For sure. No one wants to be called a coward.
Next, we have timid, which is an adjective meaning shy, lacking in confidence, or easily frightened.
Like the timid deer darted away when it heard a noise in the bushes.
Or the timid student hesitated to speak up in class.
It's similar to fearful, but timid often implies a more inherent lack of confidence or assertiveness.
Right, it's more about personality, whereas fearful can be a temporary state.
Good distinction. All right, next we have intimidate, which means to frighten or threaten someone in order to make them do what you want.
Like, the bully tried to intimidate the smaller children into giving him their lunch money.
Or the oppressive government used fear and violence to intimidate the population.
It's a very negative word, and it often involves a power imbalance.
For sure. It's about using fear to control someone.
Okay, next up is threat, which is a noun referring to a statement or action that indicates an intention to harm or punish someone.
Like, the disgruntled employee made threats against his boss.
Or, the approaching hurricane posed a serious threat to the coastal towns.
And it can also refer to something that is likely to cause harm or danger.
Right, like pollution is a threat to the environment.
Or climate change is a global threat that requires immediate action.
And of course, there's the verb form threaten, which means to make a threat, like the dark clouds threaten rain, or the robber threatened the cashier with a gun.
Yeah, lots of different uses for this word, but they all revolve around the idea of potential harm.
Okay, next is frighten, which means to make someone afraid or to cause a feeling of fear.
Like, the sudden noise frightened the birds and they flew away.
Or the scary movie frightened the children.
It's similar to scare, but frighten often implies a stronger or more intense feeling of fear.
Good point. Okay, next we have terror, a noun referring to extreme fear or a state of intense anxiety and fear.
Like, the passengers on the plane felt a surge of terror when the engine sputtered and died.
Or, the city lived in terror after a series of bombings.
It's a very powerful word that evokes a strong emotional response.
Absolutely. And our last word in this group is terrify, which means to frighten someone very badly or to fill someone with terror.
Like, heights terrify me, so I can never be a window washer.
Or the thought of public speaking terrifies her.
It implies an intense and overwhelming feeling of fear.
Right. Okay, that's all of our words related to cowardice and threat. We've got one more small group to go, and then we'll do a little wrap-up.
Sounds good. I'm ready for the final stretch.
All right, last but not least, we have a set of words related to A, which means risk or adventure.
Okay, bring on the excitement.
First up is hazard, which is a noun referring to something that is dangerous or risky.
Like, smoking is a major health hazard.
Or driving in icy conditions can be hazardous.
It can also be a verb, meaning to risk something or to put something in danger. Like, he hazarded a guess at the answer, even though he wasn't sure.
Or don't hazard your life by climbing that unstable cliff.
Wise advice. Okay, next we have stake, which has several different meanings.
Yeah, this one can be a bit confusing. It can refer to a strong wooden or metal post that's driven into the ground.
Like, they use stakes to support the young trees.
But more often, it's used figuratively to refer to something that's being risked or that someone has an interest in.
Right, like he had a lot at stake in the upcoming election.
Or she invested a large sum of money, giving her a significant stake in the company.
It basically means that something important is on the line.
Okay, next we have trap, which can be both a noun and a verb.
As a noun, it refers to a device or a hole that's used to catch animals or people.
Like, the hunter set a trap for the rabbit.
Or the police set a trap for the criminal.
But it can also be used figuratively to refer to a dangerous or difficult situation that someone is caught in.
Oh, that's a good one. Like, she felt trapped in her unhappy marriage.
Or he was caught in a trap of his own making.
And the verb trap means to catch something or someone in a trap. Like the mouse was trapped in the cage.
Or he was trapped by his own lies.
Okay, and our final word for today is strap, which can be both a noun and a verb.
As a noun, it refers to a narrow strip of material, usually leather or fabric, that's used to fasten or secure something.
Like, the backpack had adjustable straps. Or, he tightened the strap on his watch.
And as a verb, it means to fasten something with a strap, like she strapped the baby into the car seat. Or he strapped on his tool belt and got to work.
All right, we did it. We made it through all the words for this section.
Phew, that was a lot. But hopefully now you have a much deeper understanding of these words and how they can be used.
Definitely. And remember, context is key. Pay attention to how these words are used in different situations.
Right, and don't be afraid to use them in your own speaking and writing. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
Absolutely. Repetition is key. Now, just to bring it all together and give you a little real-world scenario, imagine two students, we'll call them Sarah and John, who are studying for their postgraduate entrance exams.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Sarah says to John, I feel completely overwhelmed by all this vocabulary. Sometimes I even overlook simple words because I'm so focused on the overall picture.
And John replies, I know what you mean. It's a fierce competition out there. I just pray I can overcome my nerves on exam day. The threat of blanking on a keyword terrifies me.
Sarah says, me too. I'm so fearful of making careless mistakes. I wish I could just learn everything overnight, but I know that's not realistic.
And John says, well, we can't let ourselves be intimidated. We've put in a lot of work, and we just need to trust that it will pay off. We can do this.
There you go, a little glimpse into the life of postgraduate exam prep. It can be stressful, but remember, you're not alone in this.
So true. And speaking of not being alone, we've got some great tips to help you master these words and really make them stick in your memory.
For starters, try making flashcards. Write the word on one side and the definition, along with an example sentence on the other side.
Flashcards are classic for a reason. They really work. And don't just passively look at them. Quiz yourself regularly and try to use the words in different contexts.
Right, and pay attention to the word groups we talked about. Words that start with the same prefix often have related meanings.
That's a great point. Understanding those prefixes and how they modify the meaning of the root word can really boost your vocabulary skills.
Oh, exactly. And another tip is to create mnemonic devices. These are little memory tricks that can help you remember the meaning of a word.
Like, for the word overwhelm, you could imagine a giant wave crashing over someone, symbolizing that feeling of being completely swamped.
Or for overthrow, you could picture a king being thrown off his throne.
Love it. The more creative and vivid your mnemonic devices are, the more likely you are to remember the word.
And don't forget to practice, practice, practice. Use these words in your everyday conversations, even if it feels a bit awkward at first. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become.
And the more confident you'll feel walking into that exam room.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. As you continue your studies, think about how these vocabulary words connect to your chosen field.
Ooh, I like that.
For example, if you're studying history, you might consider how the words overthrow and rebel relate to different historical events.
Or, if you're studying psychology, you might think about how the words fearful and timid can be used to describe different personality types.
The possibilities are endless. The key is to make connections and to find ways to make these words relevant to your own interests and goals.
That's great advice. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, happy studying.